The world is currently witnessing a drastic increase in the potential of timber in architecture thanks to the advancements in its fabrication. More complex software and machinery enables us to have increasing control over sheet thickness, span, and bendability. This means we can create more expressive and intellectual forms of the material. My project, Transfiguration in Timber, delves into this newfound potential. It exploits the natural properties of timber strips, exposing the beauty of the material in complex morphology. So how can we utilize the natural properties of timber? A timber grid shell is a great example of how the structural properties of timber strips are being utilized. The grid shell form is created by gently bending the timber strips and fixing them in place at each intersection. The notion that there must be a more effective and beautiful way of manipulating timber strips than simple fixings instigated my research into cables. With the integration of cables, we're able to manipulate the form of the strips while staying true to their natural bending limits. The cables visually illustrate the relationship between cable location and final form, thus providing an opportunity for exploitation. By plotting the endpoints of the cables and documenting the pattern, we're able to perform more controlled experiments. Each time the cables are removed, the strip reverts back to its natural straight shape, meaning the next manipulation is not affected by the last. Here we can see that a symmetrical pattern in cable arrangement creates a symmetrical form. Alternatively, an asymmetrical pattern can still create a symmetrical form. Clustering the cables at one end of the strip can cause a strongly distorted form, and milder clustering gives a similar but milder distortion. These results can be easily documented and their algorithms extracted to be reproduced digitally. These digital reproductions have the benefit of being more accurate than physical models, as the thickness and location of cables can be accurately measured. It also enables the algorithms to be developed further, creating complex forms that cannot be done through physical exploration. Here you can see an example of how the algorithms can create a more complex form with their counterparts indicated on the left. The number of forms possible is endless. This is another such form possible, and it begins to denote the architectural possibilities of the system. The way in which the form here materializes is such that all strips begin in the same shape and are then manipulated by the cables to create the final form. They have the ability to revert back to their original state once disassembled and then be rebent into a completely new form. This idea that all strips begin and finish their life in the same way brings a poetic quality to the system. It's a shapeshifter. The system seeks to engage with a fully temporary architecture. A large scale can be created with careful use of the original materials. The structure can be assembled on site using glulam timber strips bent into shape with steel rods. This temporary structure demonstrates the system as a piece of emotive architecture, an elegant flow of timber strips, a theatrical celebration of the potential of timber. Although a successful introduction into the system's architectural potential, this example cannot express its potential to the fullest without a context to relate to. Architecture is about its interaction, both with inhabitant and environment, meaning site and brief heavily influence the way the system performs. The ideal way to showcase the system is therefore with a brief that requires a temporary structure that's expressive and a site that celebrates material innovation. As a city with a legacy of material innovation and expressive form, Barcelona is the ideal stage to demonstrate the system powerfully. As an engagement of temporary architecture, my project proposes a new form of scaffolding for the iconic Sagrada Familia Basilica. Here, the versatility and expressiveness of the system provides much more than just scaffolding. The Sagrada Familia is, by nature, an unfinished masterpiece. Having been 135 years since the beginning of its construction, 5 generations have now watched as the temple materializes. With further construction and maintenance works planned, scaffolding will always be required. The scaffolding has continually sat limply alongside the temple, tainting the experience of visitors. Here there is an opportunity for integration of a temporary architecture that provides much more than just functionality. Learning from temporary structures that successfully provide more than functionality is vital. The stairs by MVRD is an example of how a temporary structure can be a placeholder. Here, the temporary staircase allows for access to the roof before the main staircase has been built. Hill House by Comedy Groke shows how a temporary structure can strengthen the interaction between inhabitant and site. The temporary structure protecting a listed building during maintenance, whilst also allowing for visitors to reach parts of the house that were not normally accessible. Studio East Dining by Carmody Grove is a temporary structure that utilised areas of a construction site. This pop-up restaurant provided a unique dining experience on the roof of an unfinished building during the construction process. And finally, the scaffolding around the Washington Monument, designed by Drone Lombard, is an example of how temporary structures can enhance the beauty of a site. The scaffolding was put up for maintenance works, and contractors added LED illumination so it glowed after dark in a display so beautiful many onlookers hoped it would be permanent. These four concepts, placeholding, interacting, utilising, and enhancing, became the main design drivers for my project. Here I explored my initial impressions of how to apply these concepts. The system can act as a placeholder until the finished basilica can be revealed. The system can strengthen interaction of inhabitant and site by providing access to areas that would not normally be accessible. The space created by the system can be utilised, providing areas for community involvement and activities. And finally, the expressionist nature of the system can complement the cathedral and emphasise its beauty. As the Sagrada Familia is a listed building, some scaffolding systems can't be used as they will damage the building. I will therefore be working with independent tie scaffolding and shoring scaffolding. The works are also on varying elevations at varying stages, so reuse of the scaffolding is possible, meaning using a modular system is logical. The works are such that the temporary architecture must be used at both small and large scale too. The small-scale scaffolding facilitates the ground-level construction. It's a column system that provides support for the construction of the basilica columns. It uses the shoring scaffolding method. The system is an expressive depiction of the future glory facade. Visitors can experience the space before and during construction. The design of the column system was created by carefully applying the rules extracted by my material research. Working with physical, sketch, and digital medium, I created a module system that conforms to the natural bending limits of the strips. The module consists of a series of components, one component being 2 timber strips bent symmetrically using a shared rod. These components are then connected with horizontal cables to create the full module. By extending or reducing the length of the rods, the column height can be adjusted and then reused in different areas of the construction site. The full system is built before the construction works begin, enabling visitors to experience a glimpse of the future facade. As construction commences, the system column is manipulated to enable platforms to be erected halfway up the column for visitors to access and observe the construction works. As the basilica columns continue to be built, the access of the upper and lower levels switch as the construction workers continue to work on the platforms and the visitors explore the site from below. The system columns begin to be disassembled as the roof buttress modules are installed. The internal components of the system column are then removed and allow for the walls of the naves to be built. Finally, the full column system is removed and reveals the final finished naves. The large-scale scaffolding facilitates the upper-level construction. It's a tower system that provides protection and access to the basilica towers during the construction process. It uses the independent tied scaffolding method. The system is an elegant wrapping of the basilica towers. It enables access and observation in places that never would have been accessible to the public. It provides a new point of view for the inhabitant. This tower system was created using the rules extracted from the earlier material experiments. By interweaving large timber strips with steel rods, we can create an elegant structure that can easily be modularized. We can then integrate platforms into the system, which will facilitate movement around the towers. The full system is built before the construction of the basilica towers commence, providing an opportunity for visitors to experience a glimpse of the future towers. As construction continues, as does the access for worker and public. Construction continues until the tower within is complete, and once the basilica tower is complete, the full system is removed and the building underneath is unveiled. One strip of the tower system module is formed by bending a glue-lined timber strip with a steel rod. This strip is created by laminating timber layers along the same grain to increase bendability. Weak moments in the layers can be reinforced by patching the areas before lamination. Accurate unpeeling of the layers of the tree means they have consistent quality and thickness, and as the tree is unpeeled, it can be immediately re-rolled to enable efficient transportation of materials. Access up the system tower is done with timber strip staircases. Locating the cable in a staggered way, the strips are able to be stepped up each time to form staircases. The result is a staircase that is in keeping with the design language. It provides casual exploration of the site and interaction with the towers. The capsules are formed on various levels of the tower and are created by delaminating some of the timber strips. The capsule form is a homage to the prayer clouds found in the original drawings of the Sagrada Familia, a gentle reminder of the history of the building. The space inside the capsule provides opportunity for activities to commence, a place for reflection, a pause for rejuvenation. The light and shadows created through the system enhances the emotive qualities in the space. With careful allocation of strip width and spacing, we can control wind, light, and rain in the space to create a more comfortable environment for the inhabitants. The joints between the timber strips are modularized to enable easy assembly and disassembly. The joints are exposed, providing opportunity for visitors to fully understand the system. The system, as an ensemble, is highly emotive. It provides a series of moments of architectural expression, a celebration of timber, an abstract dedication to a sacred basilica.